Well, ladies and gentlemen, been a very interesting weekend for politics, and I must say that at the time of recording, this video may already be out of date because things are already seeming to spiral. But before we get on to the main video of today, can I yet again remind you, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and if you'd like to support the work that I do here, you're welcome to buy me a coffee. The link is in the description box below. Well, at the moment, I'm suffering from flu, so actually some cold meds might actually go down a lot better. So let's get on to the main news story. So the first news story is actually in relation to the GNU. And this comes after a large amount of infighting in the GNU following the firing of the Deputy Minister Andrew Whitfield, which I covered in significant videos last week. In fact, if you haven't already watched them, I did 3 videos last week around the very topic. Now, last week, the Minister for the Presidency told GNU members, especially DA ministers, that they're not just in office to represent their parties, but the broader national interest. And I must say that this itself came as news to me, because we've heard numerous times around how the different ministers, especially when they were ANC majority governments, how they basically did what the ANC mother body told them to do. We see this in Parliament all the time. All the ANC people will generally clump together and vote collectively for the broader interests of their party. In fact, Ramaphosa is very much known as being on the record saying that he would rather be seen as a weak president who did nothing for the nation rather than being seen as the president who split the ANC.
And I said I would rather be seen as the weak president than to split the ANC, because that is not my mission. My mission is to keep the ANC united.
So this collectivist cabinet ethos, which they're now trying to suggest that they have, is entirely new to me because I haven't actually seen this before. In any case, apparently the reason that they're doing this is to avoid a coalition fracture. Even though it would appear that Gator McKenzie, for example, who described Andrew Whitfield as the embodiment of white privilege for going abroad without Ramaphosa's permission, the parties in the GNU seem more than capable of fracturing themselves. It doesn't actually seem like it's just the DA who can be accused of doing that. In fact, we actually seen in numerous instances where even ANC ministers frequently talk down about their DA ministers on the basis that, they're like white capitalists and imperialists and all the other usual rubbish. Talking of which, the minister also further went on to say South Africa does not hold any Western foreign policy. And she pushed back at the claims that the ANC was aligning itself with BRICS and that they were very critical of the West in terms of global forums. So that's actually entirely true. When they do go to global forums, such as the UN, they frequently chastise the West, and they have done for some time. And the fact that Donald Trump is now realigning the global order and that BRICS countries themselves aren't actually doing very well due to geopolitical issues, now all of a sudden the ANC is like, oh wait, we actually get quite a lot of trade from the US and we should probably be a little bit nicer to them. Now they say, well, actually they don't have any anti-Western foreign policy, and according to them, they go wherever's best for the country, and this is categorically untrue. The ANC does not go where it's best for the country, they go where it's best for them. Because as we all know, the ANC frequently attempts to maintain ideological leadership in the GNU, and that same ideological leadership globally. In other words, they generally tend to side with the commies, those that are on the incredibly left of centre. And the idea that everyone else are just outsiders, whether it be within cabinet or even on a global sphere, is, well, that's very well documented. This is not new. So everything that the Minister of the Presidency says is, well, horse rubbish. It's categorically false.
Minister, as a final question to you, at a personal level, allegations have been leveled against you that you flew your husband on taxpayers' money all the way to Switzerland.
What do you think, Con? Do you think I would take my husband to a wedding anniversary in Switzerland? I've never been to Switzerland. My husband has never been to Switzerland. We went to Geneva and New York to
Talking on to the next news article, this is a news article that the head of the Crime Intelligence Agency, they've been arrested for crime. That's correct. Apparently, this was an allegation that they were engaged in corruption and irregularities involving fleet vehicles, luxury items, and deep-rooted mismanagement within the unit itself, which led to a number of individuals basically getting away with, well, literally corruption and murder. So, this said individual, apparently they were uncovered to have used a lot of the funds from the actual crime intelligence resources to engage in extravagant lifestyle with shady BMW procurement deals. Where he was actually nicknamed the BMW Brigadier. Yeah, the head of the crime intelligence unit. Yeah, corrupt as up the wazoo. Well, anyway, they've now been arrested, which the DA welcomed. I'm not sure what that means. But anyway, the DA welcomed their arrest. Who cares, DA? Calling it a long overdue cleanup of what they termed a captured security cluster. But like everything in the state's captured. Name for me one company in the state that's state-owned, one SCO, one state-owned enterprise that's not corrupt or full of corruption and is a shadow of their former self. I mean, the DA suggests that basically SAPs have been hollowed out, and that it's a shadow of its former self, and this was done during the Zuma years. Like, the SAPs are still a joke. They are still hollowed out. They are still under-resourced, they're still under-budget, and they are highly corrupt. Like, this is every part of the state. And you see, the reason for this always comes back to the same issue. And that is that there is no accountability when it comes through to any form of state security or any high-profile scandal within the system. All high-profile scandals in the system systemically get away with it. And we've seen this time and time again. And if you want proof of that, go to Zondo and see how many of them were all accused of corruption and how many of the corruption accused are still in the cabinets of the president right now, and how many of them have actually gone to prison. And you'll find that it's not a very big figure. It's really not a very big figure. So if you knew that as the head of the Crime Intelligence Agency, well, wouldn't you get involved in crime? I mean, you knew the chances of getting actually caught, convicted, and sent to jail is like nothing. That stands to reason. Now, talking a little bit further then, we actually have to come through to the whole Iran-US nuclear tensions. And this is after the Ayatollah, the Iran supreme dictator, accused Trump of exaggerating the impact of his strikes on Iran. Meanwhile, the US Defense Secretary stated that there was no verified intelligence that Iran had moved its enrichment stockpile of uranium to a new location. And that Iran then denies any current talks or informal discussions with the US regarding its nuclear program, stating that actually it's now withdrawn from any form of monitoring that the UN is doing. And according to the US, that's fine because there's nothing to monitor because we blew it all up. So what's actually going on here? Well, the actual answer is we really don't know. So did the US bomb them for nothing? Did the bombs actually work? Well, I don't know. It does seem to be a complete diplomatic deadlock, which is really important because has Iran and Israel actually come to an agreement on the ceasing of hostilities between the nations? Well, news is if they're attempting to negotiate a deal, but how do you negotiate with somebody who calls for your destruction as much as they call for cereal in the morning? In any case, it's very interesting to note. Was the US attack against Iran successful? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Anyway, moving swiftly on, Gwede Matashe says that you can't kill off mining for the sake of fresh air. This is a direct retaliation to the idea that we should have this green energy happy bull rubbish. Because according to Gwede Matashe, you still need to have jobs, and jobs are created by mining. And so, according to him, the government needs to prioritize a form of energy security and economic revival over any form of climate activism. I'm going to say I'm actually with Gwede Matashe on this. Now, environmental groups warn that doing so would devastate ecological systems and communities reliant on clean water, especially in drought-prone regions of South Africa, because as we all know, South Africa is a water-scarce country, and there are a number of drought-prone areas. So how exactly is Gwede Matashe going to do all of this? Well, actually he wants to do fracking in the Kuru. And there is like one of the largest amounts of stockpiles of gas in the world under the Karoo. This is well known. Gator McKenzie frequently refers to it. We could literally be as rich as Saudi Arabia if we fracked under the Karoo. But there is this argument that effectively, if we did do forms of fracking under the Karoo, there could be environmental public resistance due to the potential climate damage that could occur. Guys, have you actually been to the Karoo? Because there really ain't a lot there. It's like a bit of a desert. So I'm not really sure what environment you're going to damage. You're going to make what? The desert more deserty? I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. On to the final news story, and this is actually a very weird story, I must admit. Now, this is the news story that the former President Jacob Zuma is yet again challenging his expulsion from the ANC, arguing procedural unfairness and political persecution. Now, his legal team is preparing to take the matter to court in yet another battle between the MK party and the ANC establishment. Now, the reason that this is important is because he's been to court like numerous times, including, I think he's even been to the Constitutional Court. Like, he's been everywhere. And so, whilst he's still a destabilizing figure in South African politics, he refuses to let go of this whole ANC question. Now, it's very weird as to why he's still attempting to regain his ANC membership, with some parties in the ANC suggesting that Jacob Zuma is starting to show, allegedly, I must add allegedly, early signs of dementia. So apparently he's actually showing signs of onset of dementia, and so people don't want to challenge him or say like, Tata, you're a bit nuts. You already got expelled, you went to court and you lost. And so he's saying let's take it to court again, so they can lose again. Because he forgot that he took it to court? I don't know. Like, why is he taking this to court again? Like, the guy's in his 80s. Like, what the hell's he going to do? Yeah, he still has a grip over rural constituencies. He's still obviously a presence in parliament via the MK party. But he's on his last act. He can't live forever. Like, he's on a downward trajectory now. He is in his 80s. So what's the end goal here? Oh, I really don't know. You let me know what you think. Anyway, until tomorrow, bye.
Islam will be spread by two ways. So the importation of Muslims into your country, or the spread lower income, predominantly minority men. Would you agree with that? And
the left love Islam and they will import Islam. And we see that in Australia and in London. One of the major people in the Department of Education in London, he's literally an imam and a mufti. He's literally an Islamic scholar and an imam who preaches. You will see Islam make its way into the left-wing politics. That's one of the reasons the borders were open the last 4 years. It was intentional about changing the character of this nation fundamentally. The way to destroy America will be Islam. And this is very obvious in UK. Half of Americans are left, half of Americans are right, give or take. The only way for leftism to win permanently is to import a group of people that fundamentally hate the American freedom. That happens to be Islam.
Are you joining the migration breakers? What's Hungary's
Rebellion. Rebellion. The Hungarian position is rebellion. You know, we discussed 100 times how to change and make more effective the regulation on migration. And nothing happened. They are just coming in. So if we come together to have a nice meeting and nice talk, it will never work. So the only way to stop it, as we Hungarians has done, which means that nobody can step into the territory of Hungary without having a permission from the Hungarian authorities. If you don't do that, it will never work. We will never can stop that. So what I suggest to all my colleagues, rebellion, rebellion, rebellion. That's what Hungarians do.